English.
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 About the English.
English as a language is no longer just the preserve of England. It's a language that's spoken in so many countries that there are variations in every country. You have American English, Canadian English, Australian English, and so you have Indian English. Indian English is something that is influenced by the mother tongue of the various regions from where the people come. And you have certain idiomatic expressions in English which are borrowed from the mother tongue, and that's what makes it Indian English. Also, the pronunciation and intonation is heavily influenced by the mother tongue. That's what makes it Indian English. It's not necessarily inferior to any other forms of English. It's just different.
Definitely not India.
From I guess French, the language Italian and French and all are mother and father of English.
Well, English originated originally from Latin only, so
From
no.
We have actually learned it from the school only. So for us at least, it's from the school. From the school, and we have got it from our parents.
It's a universal language, kind of. Most of the countries in the world speak it. It's the most used language.
It's a worldwide language. It's a global language.
very the easiest language involved.
Most important language.
English. English is a language, a beautiful language introduced by the British people. That's a good language. If it wasn't English, then India wouldn't have been developed so much. It has developed very well. The only reason is English.
Colonial mentality. And we are 200 years under British rule. It is a slavery mentality. I think that.
It's as important as sex.
They were very excellent students who have come from Bengali medium. Okay, they know their subject very well, but when they are going for jobs and all, obviously the one who is taking the interview, he is taking in English. So they're lacking in that communication. So one who knows English, suppose two students, both are equally good in their subject, but one who can communicate in English, he is getting the job.
Obviously, it is. It is a world language after all, and it is one of the main languages in the world. So more or less rather important.
Language spoken worldwide over, but then it's not necessary that you must know English to be a successful person.
Actually, in the urban areas, I think if you do not know English, you don't have a status quo. It becomes very difficult to, handle these people, and they look down upon you if you don't know English, to speak specially.
You go when you speak English, people give more priority to you speaking English, and since English has become an international language, so in my opinion, everybody should know English and talk English.
Rotary Club was arranged a tour about Europe. I was disqualified due to English because I can't express that much that other did. Even low background, low profile, they got the chance. I don't. So after that, I decided I have to put my children into English medium school. Not that for the vanity, for the necessary. So I put my daughter into Pratt Memorial School, and even I get married with a person, she is also from the English medium school. Due to that only, I prefer to develop my further family in an English medium background.
Obviously it gives you a certain privilege, when certain kinds of privileges when you know English, primarily because it speaks a lot about the class you come from or the social location where you belong, and whether or not you're being able to fit into those locations elsewhere.
Such a disparate country with such diversities, and where passions run high over the issue of language, English has, to quite an extent, acted as the bonding factor among all Indians. It is like a neutral language. It doesn't belong to any particular region, so there isn't any bias towards it, and people would like to learn it without feeling that their own language has been slighted. So English has proved to be a unifying factor in the country, no doubt. There are limitless possibilities and opportunities for those who are well versed in the language, who are proficient in the language, not only at the national level but also at the international level. Travel has become such a popular, I can call it almost a passion in India. English enables them to travel, to broaden their minds. English enables people to not just study abroad but work abroad. English enables people to be in touch with the world through books and magazines and media. And anything that broadens the mind ultimately will do good for the country. I suppose that is now the role of English in India, and its need. Its need to everything in the world nowadays. Anything that is progressive and modern is first expressed in the Indian English language. You have international research, you have new findings, new theories, inventions, everything, which the people get to know through English. So without the knowledge of English, we would be greatly hampered, and maybe knowledge would reach us a little delayed if everything had to be translated into Indian languages. The knowledge of English brings us closer to the world and brings the world closer to us. So necessary to be a part of a modern, globalized village.
In India, there is no one language. State-wise, province-wise, there are different languages. Though we have a national language, Hindi as our national language, but it is, it's technically and officially our national language. It's not our national language in terms of the acceptance of it. We don't do our work in English. We do our work in, we don't do our work in Hindi. We do our work in English. I have seen my friends who otherwise we say that we don't believe in this fact that knowing English makes you great or something like that. Such people, when it came to their own daughters or sons' education, they have made sure that they have sent them to missionary schools.
I sympathize for them. I feel sorry. Freaking morons. Should they even live on this earth?
Maybe with education they don't lag behind, but of course with personality and class they do lag behind.
It immediately creates a poor impression.
So people who do not speak English are such a loser. They are just a loser.
I think, especially if you are talking about the youth, they should learn the English.
See, I don't have any impressions about people who don't speak English, I don't mind people if they don't speak English, because there are other languages in India like Hindi. Hindi is a national language. So people actually shy out speaking Hindi. Hindi is also a very good language. Any language is not bad. Since we Indians are giving more priority to English, so since English has become an international language, so people feel better. They feel better from inside to speak in English. They feel good. There's a good factor in them.
A few years ago, I went to a party. Some woman asked me in English. আমি তার সঙ্গে পুরোপুরি কন্ট্যাক্ট করতে পারিনি. He loved me.
But as a games teacher, I am telling, I came here for the Bengali medium school. When I kept the interview also that problem, I faced a lot of problem due to not lack of English.
But at the college time, I faced several problems about the English. Because there are several students who used to speak in English and they used to teach us, tease us, like who are from Bengali medium or other medium like Hindi medium and Urdu medium. Different medium is also there. Especially girls, they prefer English medium students. Maybe it's a show off or something else, I don't know.
So you cannot judge a person according to language they speak. Right? A person may be very clever, maybe in his own language, but in English he is zero. Like he does it because the communication gap is there, because of language problem. But otherwise, I don't think that I would judge the person to be, gawar or as you would say. Because in his own language, if he understands something, he could be smarter than me, knowing the English language also.
I probably think it is in India that there's so much obsession with people wanting to speak in English. I was just telling you about how in Europe, particularly when you're traveling in Europe, French people, for instance, vehemently refuse to speak in English because they want to retain their own cultural distinctiveness. They do not want to speak to you in English. In Spain, I was watching a stupid movie yesterday called Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and it talks about the Catalini people and how even they would sort of not want to talk to foreigners in English, knowing the fact that they do not know their particular language. They would still refuse to speak in English. So I'm just wondering why we, even students, even among friends, even in class, if there's a certain person from your cohort who's not being able to speak in English properly, there is a gamut of stares and people laugh and there's smirks and probably the accent is not right or probably the pronunciations aren't correct. And I'm just wondering why. Is it because we kind of essentialize people in certain ways for those who do not or cannot speak in English? Or does it primarily have to do with the ideas that we grow up with?
In serials, women especially, when it's shown that there are women who can speak English very fluently and they speak accentuated English, they are necessarily depicted as not good women. Necessarily. They are the villainish woman, the vampirish woman, and they are the ones who don't do Karwa Chauth as it is. There's no reason why people should do. If you ask me, that's my take on it. But that is how it's shown in movies. Which means, on one hand, we feel that we need to know the language. On the other hand, we feel that people who know the language are not good. Wherein there is this contradiction, there is this conflict in us, which also means psychologically, actually I don't accept knowing English to be great. But because functionally I get affected if I don't know the language, that is where I start considering or looking up on the people who know it.
I wouldn't see people on the quality of whether they know English or not. If the guy is nice enough, then yeah, I might.
अगर दूसरे सेंस में जाओ तो डिपेंड्स ऑन अ फिगर और सीधी चीज में जाओ तो बंदी कैसी है इंग्लिश को क्या करना है अचार डालना है
No, I don't have any problem.
No, of course not. Duh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have married a man who doesn't know English, let me tell you.
गवार एकदम गवार है सच में
Total dumbass.
pathetic it's not educated hello don't laugh
hello bro so much as in this generation they can actually afford to be very cruel to people, which is true and which is so wrong, which is so wrong, and which actually, let me tell you, let me put this on air, that actually this speaks of your insecurity, because somewhere down the line you all know that other than knowing English better than them, in no other way you people are better than them. That's why you have to ridicule those people. As it is, number one, making fun of anybody for any reason is bad. Because the moment you make fun of somebody, the self-esteem or the confidence level of that person goes down. It gets very, very difficult to bring up that level. So having fun is very good, making fun is very bad, any given point in time.
What are the ways in which we can escape this kind of obsession with knowing English or being able to speak in English? Is probably trying to talk to people and making them comfortable in whichever language they're comfortable in whichever language they're being able to express themselves in, and to be able to accommodate to that rather than having this mental block that, the best way to communicate is probably in English, or the best way to express yourself is probably in English. I think we need to go beyond that, and we need to start engaging people in the ways they want to, in whichever form they want to. In a lot of English medium schools, particularly the school I went to, it's a convent school, and we were told not to talk in any vernaculars. So we were told that you cannot speak in any other language apart from English when you are in the school premises. I think that is extremely problematic. I think I get the point. I get why they're asking students to speak in English, precisely because they want their English to be really good. But it also disempowers a certain individual who is, for example, not being able to express himself or herself in any other way. I think we should allow that. In the sense, schools who do it, those who do this, in not allowing their students to speak in their own vernaculars and just talk in English, I think that needs to be naturalized. It should be normal for anybody to speak in whichever language. I understand that the other may not know the language I'm speaking in, but then we'll have to find a way to negotiate that understanding. We'll have to find a way to understand where one's coming from.
The basic training that should be there, which I feel should start in school from class 8, sensitivity training. We have to be sensitive to all people who may not know certain things, because they might know certain things which we don't know. They definitely have certain virtues which we don't have. But to introduce the sensitivity training in schools, now the teachers who will do this training, they are not trained as in they don't believe in this.
Fortunately, the learning of English is so exclusive that you do have a formation of an elite class. The number of people speaking English is much smaller than the number of people who do not speak English in India. And this has led to a peculiar snobbery among the people who do know the language. They regard themselves as superior, as more smart, as more knowledgeable. Why they get that feeling, I don't know, because most of it is misplaced. However, we cannot refute the fact that a large number of English-speaking people are snobbish. They do seem to look down upon those who lack proficiency in the language. It is reflected in their behavior, in their body language, in their attitude, in their expressions. It is most unfortunate. After all, English is just another language. It's a tool that man has. It doesn't enhance his talent, or it doesn't in any way add to his glamour, or it doesn't in any way improve his character. So the bad name given to English is entirely man's fault. The language is not to be faulted. This kind of a snobbish behavior I strongly condemn, and I hope with greater enlightenment this attitude will also fade away.